Dalroth here, bringing you another rapid-fire review, this time for the game Warhammer Chaosbane. Chaosbane is a top-down action role-playing game of the same style of, say, Diablo, developed by Echo Software and published by Big Ben Interactive. Straight up, Chaosbane had the potential to be an amazing game to me, as I love both Warhammer Fantasy and 40k, as well as ARPG games in general, so I came into this being incredibly hopeful and excited for a new one. So I may be a little bit more critical on it than other reviewers, but I feel like I have to, just given how much of a fan I am of both things. Summarizing it really quick is incredibly easy. You play as one of 4 characters, an Empire Captain, a High Elf Mage, a Dwarf Slayer, or an Elven Way Watcher, each with a specific playstyle suitable to their race and faction. This story takes immediately after Magnus, soon to be Emperor of Mankind, had gone out and defeated a massive Chaos Warband only to return to Nuln, the capital, to have a stasis curse cast on him by a Chaos Sorceress. You're tasked with heading out into the world of fantasy Warhammer to chase this sorceress, stop a second possible Chaos Uprising, and in the end try to break Magnus of the curse that threatens to kill him and bring end to the Empire. Pretty simple, right? So, I gotta be honest, and we're gonna get the good out of the way first, Chaosbane is a lot of things, but an amazing game it is not. The only thing that I could say was good to even great were the visuals of it, so props to whomever worked on the environments, enemies, and just the general world of the game, with everything else being average to below average, and even most of the time straight up rip off from another game or franchise. Visually, like I said, it's great. The game looks like what I'd expect a modern and current ARPG to look like, and honestly, it's good enough that I could see it competing with what you'd get from a AAA franchise nowadays, were any of them to do a new ARPG. Each location that you visit is highly detailed with a ton of static objects thrown around in every scene, and each map you're fighting on is extremely well put together and just looks damn good. They really did the Warhammer universe justice as far as environments go in Chaosbane, and I entirely appreciated the story you could get from the world itself and just the detail around as you walked about. You'd have dead and wounded soldiers on the ground in Nuln, corpses in raided areas in Prague, Chaos Idols, Chaos Icons, shrines, you name it, they modeled it out and it looks fantastic. Couple this with great character, monster, and NPC models, and you've got a visually stunning Warhammer Fantasy universe, and I'm not kidding, it entirely held the game up from crashing and burning, just by itself, for me at least. The gear itself looks pretty good, and your character will change visually when you swap it in and out, and the animations and effects of abilities are on par with what I would say Diablo 3, and we'll talk more about that specifically in a little, so everything looks mostly satisfying when you're destroying hordes of bad guys. Voice acting and storytelling, for the most part, are solid, complementing the world you're in and tying everything together nicely. There's an exception to this, though, if you're playing the female elf character Alessa, as I honestly have to say it's one of the worst voice-acted characters I've heard in a very long time. I mean, listen to this! Now, she used to be a male character, and they scrapped all those voice lines, and you know this because at times they forgot to remove the male dialogue and your chick becomes a dude, which might be, it was rushed, but it's just so bad to the point of comedy. I honestly will be happy if I never hear a fake British accent moan, "I need more energy," and "I don't have enough energy" again, and I can only hope.
Waldo Erlanger.
Why, yes,
I am hunting a sword.
Harbinger?
She is with Skraeling at the old elven temple. I need a way to get inside.
What? But, like I said, everything else, both visually and audibly, for the most part, were spot on, great, and held the game up. Everything beyond that, though, well, not so much. Gameplay-wise, and I'm going to say this as nicely as I can without being incredibly mean, is as if someone made it their goal to make this game an even more mediocre hack-and-slash version of Diablo 3, a game that at most, in its current state after all of its issues and fixes, plays like a 7 out of 10. Instead of trying to do better, or trying to do their own unique thing, they went, and I kid you not, character to character, and by design tried to copy things that existed in Diablo. The Empire Captain plays like Crusader, the Elf plays like a Demon Hunter with multi-shot and rolling around. There you go. It's So let me just switch to my demon hunter here. Let me show you some sweet original elf gameplay. No other game comes even close. You ready? Wait a minute. Wait, what does this look like? Oh no, what is this? And no joke, this Slayer is almost a copy of the Barbarian, even down to using the Magma Leap Slamming Whirlwind as his build later in the game. It looks pretty uncanny. They got the mini-map, exact same spot. When people are in your game, it shows up here. Health and everything down here, abilities are over here instead of here, but it's the same fucking thing. And then what's crazy... Look, oh wait, look, leap quaking, right? There, oh, there he goes. He's just jumping and creating fire things. Ready? Look at all this, the fire. Oh, there you go. Wait. I don't know, man. Looks really fucking similar. Almost like they copied it 1-to-1. It's pretty goddamn similar. I would go out so far to say is that they ripped off a lot of this fucking game. The entire way through, I felt like I was playing a mod for Diablo 3. Everything from the way the UI is set up to the waypoint in the world system, enemy deaths, combat, looting, and a lot of it is just average to below average of a copy of what Diablo 3 offers, and I can't for the life of me figure out why they did this. Now, don't get me wrong, they did add a constellation-style skill tree with skill points and added skills, but aside from that, it's mostly the same. It just doesn't feel right, and it feels as if, with the Warhammer universe, they could have done a lot better. There were so many unique abilities and opportunities and things from the tabletop that they could have pulled, but instead, they went and copied from D3, and like I said, I don't know why. Endgame 2, unfortunately, is a pretty solid letdown as well, with the endgame design being for you to do these things called relic rushes, which are essentially greater rifts from Diablo on levels you've already completed with slight modifiers. They involve you clearing through an area, killing a generic boss, usually the same portal demon from the campaign, and then getting a piece or two of relic gear that are comparable to set pieces from Diablo 3. If you do a couple of them, you'll get a set in no time, and it just doesn't feel rewarding. The sets themselves for most characters are pretty dull and uninteresting, and the entire UI just doesn't make anything appeal to you or stand out as being special throughout your play. It's just all incredibly average and at times, like I said, feels copy-pasted from other games. So I don't know. Speaking of copy-pasting, both the enemy types and level varieties severely suffer in Chaosbane as well. In each act, you're going to encounter 2 or 3 unique enemies, and that's it, with everything else being recolored repeats of enemies from the first and second acts. I shit you not, the same demons are used in simply colored purple for Slanesh, blue for Tzeentch, and red for Khorne, leading you to feeling excited when you go to a new zone for all of 5 minutes before you're bored and want to move on. Level design, although like I said visually is solid, is extremely repetitive, with missions bringing you back and forth through the same level multiple times in an act, with identical layouts and very few things changed. It's just so half-assed feeling, and you're going to get a lot of deja vu even when you're playing through the campaign for the first time. Also, for some reason, they removed typical ARPG things like trading with vendors for gold and even gambling with currency completely, making it feel like I had to struggle to get upgrades early on, completely removing the purpose of towns outside of quest turn-ins. There is a quote-unquote trade vendor that's restricted for the first few missions, but you can only trade your gear in a massive dump to him for some sort of reputation, being rewarded with really nothing at all in return. I don't know why he exists, it just felt really underwhelming and as if I wasn't doing anything in the cities when I went to them. Overall, the entire gameplay experience can be summarized as incredibly average and very shallow, with the only cool abilities and talents being things directly copied from another game, and just generally they're all letdowns. So, with the gameplay being blah, Del, you gotta ask, was the story at least good? Not really. The highlight of the story is that the 4 bosses you fight are pretty awesome. They're neat and well done, but become repetitive later when you do the boss rushes repeatedly to do them for gear. The story itself is incredibly predictable from a narrative standpoint. You know where it's going from the very beginning with no major surprise or twist anywhere along the way. I also finally finally, after so long, get to use a Joe quote in a review of mine, as the actual bulk of the story, if you're not repeating anything, can be done in only 4 hours, which is incredibly short for a game like this. There are no side quests, there are no jobs, there are no side adventures for you to go on, no extra areas to explore, no lore pieces on the ground, nada. You're simply on your linear story, blasting through bad guys, killing bosses, and then finishing the game. That's it. It's not bad, it's just incredibly average, a word I keep using through this entire review, held up by the fact that you're hanging with your bro Techless in the fantasy universe, and average just doesn't feel good. As an extra thing, just to throw in, there's a good number of bugs, but a lot of them were hilarious, and I never encountered any that completely broke the game, but here's an example of one that was great.
The gauntlet is by the ounce. Congratulations. I sensed over the demon and came as
Congratulations! I knew you could do it! Me too, man. You're talking to a pile of goo. I don't know if you know, but I'm dead, man. I suppose in the end, it's really the curse of the Warhammer Fantasy and Warhammer 40k licenses, right? For every Dawn of War 2 or Vermintide, we get a handful of less than amazing Warhammer games, some outright awful, that really makes us question why Games Workshop started handing out their license so willy-nilly to anyone who wanted it. I was hoping for something new. I was hoping for something unique. I was hoping for a game that did things better than previous ARPGs I've played in the past. Something with unique mechanics, skills, etc., etc. But instead, what I got was a good-looking but mechanically poor copy of games I've already played in the past, leading me to ask myself, why play this if better versions of this exist? All in all, I'm going to give Warhammer Chaosbane a 5 out of 10. It's just incredibly average to below average in most areas, with the Warhammer license in the visual design department of the dev team holding it up from going any lower. Had this been any other universe or any other generic franchise, I could see myself going to a 4, especially when you consider the fact that it's got a $50 price tag on it for so little content and innovation. If you are interested, I'd definitely wait for the price to drop significantly. It'd be fun for a couple of hours, but I don't see anyone playing this for more than a few days at most. That's going to be it for this rapid fire review. If you liked it, do me a solid and hit that like button, and if you're subscribed already, ring the bell to get notifications on new videos in the future. Oh yeah, and if you like my rapid fire reviews or would like to see when I'm doing them live on Twitch, you can head over to my Twitter at AJSADelrith. Again, that's at AJSADelrith. And give me a follow. I'd appreciate it. Until the next video, this is Delrith, and I'll be seeing ya.